Welcome to People and Profit. I'm Stephen Carroll. Today we're focusing on Africa's largest economy, Nigeria. The country had a tough 2020 as a plunge in oil prices due to the coronavirus pandemic pushed it into recession. But growth had been weak even before Covid-19 arrived, and the economy faces major challenges as it recovers. In a moment, we'll speak to Nigeria's finance minister. But first, Catherine Viette tells us more about the state of the country's economy.
It may be Africa's largest economy, but Nigeria has been struggling with high unemployment, increasing inflation and low growth, even before the pandemic in 2020 tipped it into a recession. Measures like lockdowns, work from home, and travel restrictions hurt the economy, with the aviation and entertainment sectors the worst affected. The country has the largest natural gas reserves in Africa and is also the continent's biggest oil exporter. Oil contributes about 9% of Nigeria's GDP and accounts for 80% of its export earnings. Oil is a key driver of growth and provides most of the hard currency needed to finance the economy. Any downturn in oil prices ends up having an outsized effect on the country's overall economic health, like the drop in crude prices during the pandemic, which saw GDP contract nearly 1.8% last year. Out of a population of about 202 million people, 40% live below the poverty line. Another 25% are considered vulnerable. One reason is a stubbornly high unemployment rate. In the fourth quarter of 2020, unemployment stood at just over 33%, while underemployment, those working less than 20 hours a week, was just under 23%. Inflation has also hit a four-year high, just over 18% in April, while food prices increased by almost 23%, the highest in 2 decades. Still, the country exited its recession at the end of 2020, and rebounding oil prices are expected to help Nigeria grow by 1.5% this year, according to the African Development Bank.
We can speak now to Zainab Ahmed, who's Nigeria's Minister for Finance, Budget and National Planning. Minister, thank you for being with us on France 24. We heard a little bit about the situation facing the Nigerian economy there. What is the biggest challenge that you're tackling at the moment?
Well, it's the economy. Thankfully for us, the health pandemic has been well contained in Nigeria. So it is the economy. The economy is growing, but very, very slowly. There are a lot of impacts in different sectors of the economy and also on the lives of the people. We have inflation that is heightened. We still have not enough supply of foreign exchange. So these problems have a lot of multiplier effect across the economy. But having said that, the economy is growing. We exited recession in the fourth quarter of 2020 with 0.11% growth. And this first quarter GDP report that we released is also a positive growth of 0.5%. Our target is for 2021 is to be able to reach a growth rate of 30% GDP. So it's a steady progress. There are a lot of challenges. Our fiscal space is very, very tight right now. So we have to do a lot of replanning and also continuous reviews of our expenditures, cutting down non-essential spending, providing resources in areas where the needs are strongest, like the health sector, and in our case, also strong and very high requirement from our security sector.
The World Bank has warned that the number of people living below the poverty line in Nigeria has risen sharply during the pandemic. It's already 40% of the population. What can you do about that in the short term? And what is your target for bringing that down over the coming years?
So that's a very disturbing development for us. But I can also say that this is caused largely because of the COVID-19 pandemic that we went through, and also in our case, the crash in the crude oil price in the international market, which saw our revenues for 2020 plummet by as much as 60%. What we've done is put in place an economic sustainability plan on the back of a commitment that Mr. President has made to Nigerians to take 100 million Nigerians out of poverty over a 10-year period. In the economic sustainability plan, we have designed programs and projects that is going to create mass employment in terms of public works so that people are able to get employed doing whether it is building of roads or environmental work, and a lot of construction of very, very low-cost houses that is putting a lot of people into doing something gainful that is helping them to earn a resource. We're also continuously addressing the health pandemic to make sure that people are not further made poorer due to increased spending on health. So we have health insurance that is being expanded, and we also have a continuous review of the unemployment status in the country, as well as the poverty ratings. It's important to also say that we have been providing palliatives in the form of conditional cash transfers to the poorest of the poor within the society.
All of that requires a lot of public money, though. You mentioned that you're tight on fiscal space. What are your financing needs, and how are you going to fund that extra spending on things like more public works?
So unfortunately, the COVID-19 had set us back in terms of our target of reducing the borrowings that we have had to make. Our target was from 2021 that the borrowing from local and international sources will reduce. But in 2020, we have had to borrow much more than we planned. And that meant we had exceeded our debt to GDP, our fiscal threshold, which is we shouldn't borrow more than 3% of GDP. We are now at about 4% of GDP, and that is a target that we are trying to work on and bringing down. But what we're doing on the revenue side is we have floated an initiative that we call the Strategic Revenue Growth Initiative. Our target is to move the revenue to GDP of our country from the current 8% that it is to 15%. 8% is quite low for the size of the Nigerian economy, and it means that we're looking at all the various revenue sources, enhancing compliance in terms of collection, improving the efficiency of collection, and also introducing new forms of revenues to enhance the revenue basket.
What about the cost of vaccination? Something else that's obviously going to be a very big challenge to recover from this crisis. What are you kind of putting a price on how much that's going to cost?
Well, incidentally, I just came out from a Federal Executive Council where I got an approval to do a supplementary budget. And what we asked for is an approval to procure 30 million doses of Johnson & Johnson vaccine. So it's 10 million. It's $10 per dose, even including, and then in addition to that, including cost of logistics. So we have approval, and we're doing a supplementary to enable us buy these vaccines. We've already made a commitment, and a 15% advance payment has been paid to the manufacturer through AVAT and Afrexim Bank. So we have to acquire as much as 140 million doses of vaccine for use in Nigeria. 20% of that will be coming from the COVAX facility, which is an intervention that is granted to African countries and developing economies. But the rest of it, the government has to procure on its own. During the summit, our president had called on world leaders that have excess vaccine stock in their countries to release some of them to some of our countries. But we're not waiting for that. We're going ahead to procure because our need is quite large. And this 30 million doses is already part paid for. The order has been set, and production is being done, and we'll plan on the delivery process to Nigeria.
When do you think you'll be able to offer vaccinations to everyone in Nigeria?
So this 30 million, the doses we're expecting to start coming from August of this year. We do hope that by 2022 we'll be able to cover 70% of the Nigerian population. That is what we require to reach herd immunity. So we'll be making provisions in our 2022 budget to make provisions for the rest of the vaccines that we need to buy to immunize our people.
Do you feel that you should be getting more help from schemes like COVAX, that they should be providing cheaper access to those vaccines faster?
Yes, we should be getting more support from COVAX, but it's not even cheaper, Stephen. It's just accessing the vaccines. It's difficult to access the vaccines. COVAX made a commitment to donate to our country and other African countries 20% of our needs. So far, and that will have been like 43 million doses. So far, we've received 4 million doses from COVAX. So the vaccines are just not coming. They're not available. So our major challenge now is not even the financing, but the accessibility of the vaccines.
To go back to the economic issues, when it comes to ease of doing business, Nigeria scores 131st, excuse me, of 190th by the World Bank. What sort of efforts can you make to fix that, to help the economy to recover and do things like Nigeria banning Twitter recently? Is that going to dent confidence in Nigeria as a place for companies to invest?
It won't, it shouldn't. We are a sovereign nation, and we will not be sitting back and allowing any platform, however large it is in the world, to cause a war within our country. So that's what it is. And it's not something that we take lightly. We do hope, and we'll be entering into discussions with Twitter. We just need to have our regulations respected. So if any platform will do whatever they do on a fair and a balanced manner, fine. But you cannot shut out the president of a sovereign nation and just expect no consequences. It doesn't happen.
Zainab Ahmed, Nigeria's finance minister, thank you very much for speaking to us on France 24. That's all from us for now, but you can find all of our previous episodes on the France 24 website, and you can get in touch on social media with your comments or questions. Until next time, thanks for watching.